the Town of Sheldon Selectboard and Water Commissioner meeting held here Monday, September 8th, 2025 at the town office here. Under new business, we have treasurer consultant proposal, Parks and Rec, town administrator's report, personnel in executive session. We need to sign and approve the minutes from the August 25th meeting. We need to sign and approve a payroll warrant 2530, accounts payable warrant 31702. And then under old business, we still got that Mill Street sewer project. Need an update on that. And the salt shed project update. Anything else you need to add tonight?
I don't believe so. Well, I don't, Nancy, do you have something you want to talk about?
That was speed bumps.
Okay.
Alright, we'll get right into the talk to Jane and Amanda.
Well, nice to see everybody. It's about 6 months since I've been here, and so far so good, I think.
Good.
And I appreciate all of your support and the collaboration that Steve has been an open ear, Matthew's been a resource, Nick, Marie, Greg, I don't see you enough. But I appreciate it, and so thank you. Yeah, no, I don't, that's the,
No, that's okay.
once a year anyway.
I'll stop in and
Good idea.
walk, I guess.
So, I am going to do my best to update you as like my 6-month check-in with a slight proposal of how I could continue to improve, I think. And I'll try to be comprehensive but also succinct. So I'll share with you what I've written. I have a copy for you to go along with. And then I'd like to introduce Amanda, if you don't already know Amanda, and allow her a chance to speak a little bit. And, oh, thank you, these. So these 3 copies are complete and that a sample service agreement is included and Amanda's resume. Otherwise, it's just my proposal. So these 3 have more detail. So I'll just dive right in. I'll speak for a little bit. I'll allow Amanda to speak for herself, and then we can take questions. And we're not intending, I will speak for myself. I'm not intending to rock the boat, as you'll be able to tell, or get an immediate answer or create an immediate solution, but to work together to just make sure that everything is operating optimally. So, my purpose is to strengthen the financial operations by adding some support from Amanda as a financial administrator. There are a lot of reasons I've chosen Amanda, which you can see on her extensive resume, but also personally for many reasons. She's local. I can't swear on TV, but she's bad. She's a bad lady. So I'm honored to work with her. Currently in our town, the town clerk and treasurer are one person, and in many Vermont towns, these roles are getting separated, especially as towns grow in size. And I understand here that they're still combined, and I think I'm actually growing into both roles and starting to enjoy them both equally. But I think it would be hard pressed every 3 years to find somebody with full availability and not only adept at both a town clerk full-time role, but also a treasurer role, and be able to excel in them and be a resident of Sheldon. I think that's a tall order every 3 years. I think as that one position was originally incepted, it has very much changed over time with regulation, reporting requirements, audits, etc. So, since being elected, I average about 34 hours a week in both jobs together, and our office is open about 37.5 hours a week. That's the same as before, so there's continuity. I want to reinstate or emphasize I do believe I'm doing the job competently and consistently, so I'm not asking to step away from anything, but rather to have more support and expertise than I feel I currently have for Sheldon's financial future. So here's what I'm doing right now. I process all the municipal receipts. I record and reconcile the deposits in the bank accounts. I oversee utility billing and collections. I I process accounts payable and the vendor payments. I maintain accurate financial reports. I coordinate audits and auditor requests. This is all separate from the contract. This doesn't include any of my time. This is just the treasurer. I work with the state treasurer's portal. I handle all warrants and reporting. I support the budget process. For taxes, I manage the tax billing and the collection. I propose the annual tax rate to the select board, and I worked with the mentor to do that, and I think we did really well in our first year. There was nothing too funky about it. I file all our state and federal taxes. I've already done it once on my own, but I would like to have somebody's help. Payroll. I manage all the payroll and the staff and the federal reporting that corresponds with that. I serve as a point person for all the department heads for the invoicing and the budget status reports. I successfully completed a workers' comp audit this year for Kim's work last year without needing a lot of help for that. I supervise an assistant treasurer who I'd like to thank on the record. Demetrius Golden is amazing, and he's become our second signer. Since signing on in my first 6 months, we've added a designated second signer. In the event anything happens to me, Sheldon is in a better financial position now because there's no disruption. You have an assistant treasurer you can count on who was never there before. I've implemented a daily petty cash audit law that was never there before and a daily counting practice. In my first 6 months, I've also implemented remote check capture, so a double verification, and positive pay. It's like another check fraud prevention. Also, I have added different technology and efficiency improvements and coordinated some communications and workflow stuff. So, I think we're in pretty good shape. However, I think we could be in even better shape if we have some of the specialized expertise and network experience, accounting experience, journal entry experience, audit prep experience, investment and fund tracking experience, the IRS and the state quarterly filings, the specialized financial reporting stuff. So I hope we can engage Amanda 10 to 20 hours a month, which only breaks down to 4 to 5 hours weekly, which is sort of similar to zoning or listing, and it's still within 40 because I'm working 34. If you add Amanda at 4 or 5, we're still in that 40 hours of what a full-time town clerk treasurer position could be, with the majority of it being at a lower rate, and then some of it being at the rate of what you would pay someone with accounting background. So Amanda has included a resume, a sample service letter. I imagine she and I can sort of bi-weekly and go over my list of questions and filings and reports and audit prep before they happen. There could be a 30-day cancellation cost. How long would it last? I don't know. Hopefully till the end of my first fiscal year, hopefully till the end of my first term, till I understand everything. Potentially for Sheldon, is it in your best interest if something happens to me indefinitely to have somebody at this high level who can think about investment or different things that this town clerk and treasurer full-time person may not also be an investment or an accounting person? So the benefits are adding more amazing people to our team. No increase in total staffing hours. It's still in that 40-week historic dual role. It's a moderate cost offset with long-term benefits, stronger financial control, improved investment returns, reduced audit cost and finding. So hopefully we're protecting Sheldon taxpayers, strengthening oversight, ensuring good continuity of service. I'm proud of the progress we made in my first 6 months, and with your support and I think more professional help, my work can get stronger and we can safeguard Sheldon's finances years to come. So that's my proposal, and I'll allow Amanda to share anything you might like.
So Jim approached me. Every town is different in how they handle things. When I was in Fairfield for 12 years, I had town administrator, treasurer, and town clerk position. It was a lot of work, and I can attest that you don't want your people to get burnt out and do a lot of different things, and especially things that maybe they're not getting trained for or go to school for. So I think it's I envy you in asking for help, because that's a very big thing, And I'm happy to help for as long as you need. I don't have a full-time job. I contract for other people or organizations very small amounts. And I can do it for as long as you need. Like I said, 30-day cancellation clause. It's not working for you, it's not working for me, it's easy. So if you have any questions, and all of these things that she's asking, I did it for 12 years. I've been the treasurer for 17 there, and the treasurer at Maple Run Unified School District for 8 years. I started, so.
So in the past couple of days, there have been a few examples where, we printed out a detailed report of transactions for each code in the budget. And someone said, oh, well, I really wish that this was over here. So A, we need to code invoice 64, they're entered into OP, AP, from department heads. But as we have to go move things around and a bunch of journal entries accumulate, that's where I'm like, I would like somebody's help to look over moving things between funds before I go making those, because those are all audit flags and each transaction requires multiple. So to do things smoothly and efficiently, that would be one thing. This is just the last 24 hours of examples of how I could use just a little bit of support at first. I wanted to give Matthew read-only NEMRIC access. So he's asked to see the general ledger read-only access. And the person at NEMRIC on TechEd said you need to talk to your accounting team about what reports anyone else should have. And I don't know, we don't have an accounting team. Matthew said many towns don't, but to just ask someone, if you want to create read-only access, what reports do you think would be helpful to a town administrator? What access should we create? There are just things I think would be helpful. And I do have a mentor treasurer in Maidstone, Vermont, Bob Champagne-Wells, who's been amazing, but he uses QuickBooks and he doesn't use NEMRIC, and it's not quite the same language, so. And he's far away. It took me 3 hours to drive there. So Mandy's in Fairfield, and that's just simple.
So do you foresee this long-term thing? You're hoping to keep her on?
I just see everything.
Keep everything going smoothly, or is it something you think if you get enough training, then you'll just take it over yourself?
That's an excellent question. So right now I'm just seeing everything in the first 3-year term until I get reelected. And I think there are certain things like the journal entries that I'll get very confident in. After I do it 10, 20, 50 times, I probably won't need to ask for help on that. When it comes to filing the IRS stuff, quarterly or annually, the really big audit prep, or investment stuff, or moving a lot of funds around, all the big red flag stuff, that's where I could indefinitely want support. And there are questions that just come up that I don't foresee every day, So today someone called and said, is my bank going to get a copy of my tax bill, which is the responsibility of the property tax owner? However, living in Sheldon, I know I've never sent it to my bank or mortgage company, so somehow they're getting it. So I had to pick up the phone and call somebody, which I still will always do to figure out that eventually the bank will reach out and tell me who lives in Sheldon and that they need a copy of it. But there are just things where having a nearby person, I think, will make me more efficient for now. I don't know how long it will last, but I imagine at least for the big things that people need, it would be nice to have a second set of eyes.
I'll have to say, for the amount that you've taken on, you've done a very good job so far. So happy to hear that you're not afraid to ask for a little help now and then.
Well, I appreciate it.
I think it's my opinion, it's a good thing. Because to have everything, like you said, for the audit and all that stuff, that it's a lot easier to do it right the first time and have somebody check it over than it is to get to the end of the year and say, oh no, what do I do now? But, yep, that's just my opinion. You guys got any questions for him? Any comments?
You addressed all my questions with the
Yeah.
presentation.
I agree. I think we're getting to a point of growth in our town where we need to start looking at other towns that have, reached these milestones as far as, how big we are and how much tax revenue is involved. And I think it's in our best interest to protect not only you, but our town, our select board, to make sure that we're doing everything that we need to do as far as audits and especially federal changes that are coming down the road. I think it's best to prepare ourselves.
At first I was asking myself, do I believe Sheldon requires like 2 separate individuated roles? And I really don't. Like I think I can do 95% of the treasurer role and like 100% of the town clerk role. So I think we're really close. I do want to ask for your support and I appreciate all the support you've extended and your willingness to show up and say yes, that means a lot. So.
You just need, you're looking for a little more support closer than me, so.
Somebody shows up more than he does.
No, closer than Maidstone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what it is, and you feel, and you don't want to, yeah. I understand.
And he's so helpful. I did email him 2 or 3 times today, but he doesn't use the same software.
Yeah.
Answer a lot of questions.
But,
Yeah.
yeah. And you currently work for Fairfield?
Yes, I'm the treasurer.
Okay, so, Fairfield and Sheldon have a lot in common, so, and you're very close, so. If we do this, you're saying that your confidence will grow as you get advice and learn here from,
I'm a pretty good learner, yes.
Right. I'm just saying you're not, you just don't want to get towards the end of the year and find that you've gone down the wrong road somewhere.
No, you can ask Matthew, that fixed me up.
Yeah, okay. So I
don't blame you there.
I'm in agreement. It's probably money well invested. So.
All right.
You want a motion on this proposal?
I would like a motion on this. I'll make a motion.
I'll move that we take the treasurer's proposal here pertaining to the financial, what do you want to call it?
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to
Treasurer's
agree
support.
to this professional service agreement.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All in favor? Opposed? All right.
Thank you guys, I really appreciate
I
it.
think it'll,
So my question is, will you work with Amanda on the service agreement? Is that what happens?
Yeah,
Or the select board does?
Right.
So we can just write 5 to 10 hours and start working together now?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, and, great.
Sure.
if you want
Yeah.
to,
We need to have that signed. Yeah.
That's what I need.
service agreement, get it all filled out,
Perfect.
fill in all the blanks and I can come
And
in,
if that's
and
my job to
sign
do,
it.
I'm happy to do that.
No, that's fine. I can work that out with Amanda and we'll get some good.
Perfect.
I'll come in and sign it.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Alright. What's going on with speed bumps now?
Hey, first of all, thank you guys for putting those up. But I'm thinking we're gonna need one more down through there somewhere. The cars are slowing down by coming in cranes, and then they're speeding up right straight past, right up on Pleasant Street and going up to the further one up further. So I don't know where you would want to maybe think about putting another one, but the only complaints I have to tell you that I've gotten, I've had some, the signs are too small and they're not in the right placement. That's the only complaints I've got about it. Everybody loves them, they say they're not too rough, they're not too bad, but it's just the signing really stinks. So,
We have ordered some bigger signs that should be here this week. I think some of them are going to be here this week, some of them might be here next week, but they are larger and they should be more visible. And then, yeah, and I understand the issues with the placement, particularly for, I think I would probably need to, well, unfortunately the one on the curve coming from the church, there's not a whole lot of space before that happens, but we could probably move it back a little bit further, and if it was larger, it'd be easier to see. And then coming into town, we might need to space those out more, just because people are going faster when they come into town, so the signs go by faster. So we did change the signage up there, so we moved the 25-mile-an-hour sign back to the farm, because that would give us more space to put the speed bump signs, but we may need to rejigger that a bit. But there is a plan in place to improve the signage for the speed bumps that have been installed already.
So we'll have plenty of signs if you wanted to put another one.
I think so, yeah.
Even if they're old small.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only complaint with the sign, so I was impressed. Because the first one they put up, made out the cow mats, everybody was witching,
Yeah.
about everything. And this time it was like, the signs aren't in a good place, don't really know they're right on top of it, they're too small. So I'm like, well, that's all they're gonna complain about, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
And you said, what, you noticed traffic going slower by your house
From
because,
my house, yeah, because they're coming
Right.
down that hill and they just had hit, the speed bump, so they're definitely going by slower.
right.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know.
I just think there needs to be one place somewhere in between the two to really slow them down into the village, because they still are like flying. So I don't know where you guys would want to place it, that's up to wherever, but as long as we have the proper signage or some signage, better than nothing, or, so.
Yeah, I haven't received a single phone call about speed bumps since.
Really?
Yeah. Seth, I don't think he's got any phone calls about it, but he's talked to some people about it. I haven't really heard much about it. I've talked to people about them, but nobody's called me. But that's what, when we did the other one, I heard plenty.
I've heard a few about this one.
Yeah.
Heard a few about the Shawville Road speed bump. That pavement's settled there.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty good there, where they put that culvert in. But anyway, so I just told them slow down. If they go slower, they won't hit so hard.
Where we changed the
Or
culvert.
they changed that culvert just past the bridge heading out. There was a culvert, that had a sinkhole on the side of the road, so they changed the culvert out and the pavement settled, mostly on that upper side there. The lower side heading out of town. It's not bad. But anyways, those new signs are supposed to be in.
I think the speed bump signs are going to be here Wednesday or Thursday, and then I got some bigger speed bump ahead signs, and those I think might be the beginning of next week.
They're more reflective.
They're diamond shaped and reflective, and they're 2 feet wide instead of the ones that they sent are 18 inches or 24 and smaller print.
Okay.
So if we were to put another sign or another bump in, we would use a smaller sign because you only got signs for.
Yeah, I think in that case we could reuse the smaller signs on them.
In between
ones, and if we have problems, we can order more. But we do have some money left in the sign budget. I was hoping to use it for. We have a couple other some private road signs that need to be bought, and I was hoping to do a couple. I was thinking we could get more of those reflective strips that we put on the stop signs for
Not gonna be too much longer, we're gonna have to take those pumps out anyway.
Right,
So,
right. But
Well, I think
I think they have some coal patch left though, so I don't know what.
I think for another year there that we should look for getting the speed bumps that you nail in the road, proper ones, budget for it. Do invest, price that all out. We need 4 or 5 of them, and we'd be able to put it up because I think in the long run it'd be cheaper than it'd be more effective at slowing the traffic down than having police it. But if you're policing it, it's like speed bumps will be there 24/7.
yeah.
And as annoying as they are effective at slowing people down. And that's about the size of it. They are annoying, but so are annoying. So it's, people there that are going 25 miles an hour over the speed limit.
Yeah.
They're annoying as well.
Yep.
So that's it in a nutshell, pretty much. And I don't think their speed bumps wear out.
I'm pretty impressed with how well, I thought, Seth and I thought maybe some of the larger trucks went over and they might flatten out a little bit, but in general, they've got their shape pretty well.
I'm saying though, that if we buy the rubber ones that you nail down the road, that, and kind of research I'm sure there's different angles and, we could, over the winter, we could, have that in place there for next spring. Look into that. And we'd be equipped the next season to implement or put the speed pumps out. And then possibly there, you could ask, we might be able to get some advice there through the winter there from a traffic expert as to where these things need to go. Because that's what they do.
Yep.
And it's not, so you have, they would examine, they'd look at it and they would have a,
Yeah, distances from curves.
Well, that's what they
and
said.
whatnot.
That's what they said.
All that,
That's what they said.
engineering that he's going to do.
where it would be the most effective. And, sometime during the winter, between now and, we figure that out. And then beginning of next spring, bump some fun.
I agree.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
That would be like, okay.
Right.
Like I said, it'll be annoying, but so is other things.
That's right.
That's true.
That's all it is. That's it in a nutshell.
Well, I think if you were going to put a third bump in now, I would probably be on either where we put the rubber one or probably on the other side of my driveway.
And we're right at the bottom of the hill,
Yeah.
Yeah.
at the intersection,
Or, well, a little bit past that.
right on the intersection.
Does the Historical Society have cameras?
No, I don't believe they do because they don't have.
Did you guys see somebody was
Yeah,
doing
they were.
burnouts right there in front of it, right?
Right, it's like they got a picture of I think people with the tires years ago, right?
Yeah, I think they have a small, I was talking to Fern the other day, and that's on their agenda to get regular cameras, but I think they got some cell phone cameras.
Yeah, they did have something because they had a portal up because they had problems with that. But,
Well, I was just, because somebody was doing burnouts right
Oh,
there,
yeah.
right almost on top of their steps, and I'm thinking, if they had a camera, they could at least get the description of the car to see who was doing that.
And the same person did it out here in this.
I saw up here on top of the T, they were blowing donuts, yeah.
Yeah. I heard about that on the weekend. And I did let the sheriff know that I was trying to, we've gotten the sheriff has provided some overnight shifts on Saturdays. I asked him if we could consider doing one on a Friday instead, just because we have, it seems like Friday things happen pretty regularly here, so.
They were in town last night.
Yeah.
Who? The sheriff or the hot rodders? The sheriff.
Sheriffs.
We had another accident.
But like you said, the speed bumps are there 24/7, but the sheriffs can't police it 24/7. So, I mean, they do help, and they are annoying, but
Yeah. Absolutely.
that's why I just came to say, you know, thank you guys for putting the 12 that you did. In between the two, there needs to be something else.
Small.
Yeah, somewhere.
Well, okay.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
What we got with Parks and Rec here?
Alright, you want to talk about this or Maria, or should I just?
Sure. You certainly are more knowledgeable about some of the details on how to
Well, if you.
make it happen. It's just like a long-term plan. Again, as our town is growing, other towns have a Parks and Rec department that runs obviously other sorts of activities and whatnot, but we're thinking specifically about the school sports. Right now, the PTO runs the pre-K through 4 sports, and they need things updated with the field. They need benches, regulation size soccer nets. Anytime we have other teams from other towns come and play against specifically the 3rd and 4th graders, I'm not much for sports, so I don't really know all the details, but there's regulation size nets that you need for each different age brackets, and ours are not regulation size, and our side of the teams as well as theirs don't have any place to sit while they're having games, so these are things that PTO would love to be able to purchase, and I do have our sports coordinators on specifics of like what size bench would you like, what's the cost of those, specific information like that. But it is something that down the road, Matt let me know about what we would need to do to make that happen. I know that we have a Parks and Rec budget as far as being able to, I know that there was a donation listed for Little League, and then there is some sort of grounds maintenance. They have a pretty big issue as far as the actual dugouts. I guess they're just basically some sort of splintered wood that kids just, they make sure that nobody touches it. There's a massive poison ivy issue as well. And there's other things like during the season they want to have some sort of like a porta potty available so that people can, you know, be able to do that while they're having games and not have to access inside the school. We just purchased a shed so that we would be able to have not PTO members storing all of the sports equipment, and it could be on site at the school. We used Cold Hollow Career Center to build it, and that was very lovely. There's some details, of course, that need to be worked out as far as the door being the right size, so there's not a giant gap, but there's a lot of costs that go into that program, and we spend a good portion of our budget on sports and sporting equipments, and a lot of towns have a Parks and Rec department, so I know that that's like a long-term plan. At the very least, I was wondering what our distribution is as far as what we have left in our budget, what we can do as far as grounds upkeep. Again, there's issues of like, is it the town's responsibility? Is it the school district? The school is now doing the lawn maintenance there, but there's a lot of pieces where I would love to be able to figure out some of that gray area as far as who's responsible for it, because right now it seems like nobody wants to take responsibility for it, and these kids, if we're going to have these programs, they deserve to have them the same as other towns do, you know, as far as regulations go and all those pieces.
So you're saying the dugouts need to be upgraded?
There's
some dugouts need to be upgraded.
Mm-hmm.
And need nets.
Yep, they need nets that are regulation size and not falling apart.
And you need some storage building.
We already have we have a shed that we just, it's like $1,500 that we just spent on a shed to get built, but portalette benches for like the teams to sit on, or also
For soccer fields.
for soccer fields. There's a variety of different, depending on the season of the sports that they're using these fields, and the fields themselves need some
Where do the younger kids play the soccer?
They play, there's down the hill across from the parking lot, where the lower parking lot is.
So the younger kids tend to play on a soccer field that belongs to the school district.
Yeah. But you're looking for portable nets or permanent nets in there?
They would be portable, I believe, but they're the ones that we have right now are not. They're not the regulation size, and so there's a lot of pieces. Obviously, PTO can fund a lot of it, but I know that we've got a Parks and Rec budget, and I'm hoping that we can make some sort of coordination happen. My kids don't play sports, but I know a lot of people who do, and we have a lot of kiddos who are signed up. So
on the fields that the school does belong, the school does own. Because we had to, we're probably going to revisit the whole school land issue that might come back onto that town meeting again. But in the meantime, we should get a list together of all these improvements that you need. And where the town does own the property and the improvements need to be made, we'll get a list of those things, and then we'll get a contractor or someone contract with somebody to have that done.
Yeah.
So, right?
We'll start soccer nets too if they're not permanent ones.
But address the issues that are on the property that the town is responsible for.
Yes.
On the school side of Bullfront, we're doing that all field. The softball.
The Babe field.
Yeah, that's all the town.
Yeah, right.
So
Just as
we do have about $6,000 remaining that we haven't spent on Parks and we've spent very little out of our maintenance budget. So.
Well, that's because we've got the boys doing all the mowing.
Right, exactly.
So that's made a big difference on that budget, but there is some money in there to
just be ready.
Yeah, I've got Abby Miller and Courtney Norris are our sports coordinators for PTO, and they are putting together a list of specific, like this is the bench we want, this is how much it costs, specific information like that. We talked about it at our meeting tonight.
Is that needed for this immediately?
Yeah. I think they're looking to get it for the season, if possible, and we can afford, I'm sure, I haven't looked at pricing on any of it, but we can afford some things, but there's a lot of updates that need to be done that I think if it's not something that the school is willing or able to fund, then
I think
they need to be.
I think like those dugouts, if they could get something together before town meeting saying, and then, that's in March, we should be able to get, new dugouts built before the baseball season starts, sort of thing. But this stuff you're looking for this fall, with soccer nets or
I'm assuming it's the softball dugouts they're talking about.
yeah,
The big
baseball
ones
doesn't have dugouts, they just got benches.
I think
No Babe Ruth?
they do, and
They do?
they added
They must have built them after.
a couple years ago they did quite a bit of work on that field. So
You want to go in there and look at that over and see what?
I'd love to.
the only
Norris is your sports.
Poison ivy in the bathrooms, that's right.
I know
Hopefully
that
not the same spot.
the school does tend to put a portalette.
Yes, and they did. They have one now.
It's over it's all the way over behind the school, so it would be handy if there was one down on the lower field and one
Stuck one in the pine trees around the basic softball.
Right, yes. The only other thing I didn't know if I have thought about before is that the town we have these fields down at the school. We have Gristmill Park here in the village. We also have our town forest that the voters have decided we should keep. And we've still, basically nothing's been done to plan that on that since that went to town, was decided at town meeting. I didn't know if perhaps the select board should consider creating a permanent committee like other towns have to deal with recreation. Or just as an advisory board on this, and then they would be volunteer, or they'd be appointed, but we do pay our other boards, so if you created a permanent board, there may be a budgetary issue with that, but it would be maybe better to have a group of people who are interested to regularly deal with this, because right now well, the Gristmill Park, obviously Jack and Kim and their relatives were really invested in that when it was going, and that's sort of how recreation has gone in Sheldon. It seems like certain people get interested in it.
Yeah, that's the hard thing about doing a recreation committee. It's people get really involved when their kids are at that age,
right,
which is good because that keeps all that stuff moving. But to get somebody to stay on that board after their kids are gone to high school is like,
that's tough.
They're so busy trucking,
Yeah, we had Sabrina running things, and then her kids moved up into the next bracket, and now we were kind of in a scramble of trying to figure out who can do what. Last year, I volunteered to be a soccer coach, and I've not ever played soccer, but we needed somebody for kindergarten, and
who's the athletic director at school?
Still Sabrina, I believe.
Oh,
As the athletic director, there's just not the PTO.
No, I know, but I think it's just one of the school sports.
Anyway, I looked into it legally. The select board could create a commission like that if you wanted to, or I didn't know if we wanted to consider. Well, we can save this till later, but consider maybe putting that on the warning for town meetings, if voters are interested in supporting a permanent committee of some sort to deal with that. Because if you do have a permanent committee, at least then the select board would have to keep appointing people to it. So as you might have less of a problem where people are interested and then they get out of it. And
if we would have got a committee together back when they built those fields, we probably wouldn't be in this conundrum.
Right. Well, apparently there was a committee there when we got the grant, but I don't know where that committee went to.
The question whether you should, is the question going to come up with the ownership of the land? We're going to debate that again.
right,
Yeah.
Which
Then were the baseball fields a part of that debate? I thought the issue was they wanted to put the road in when you first.
Right.
And that was the only
That's all part of the land that town owns.
Yeah, it's all part of what the issue.
But we're not giving up the baseball fields or anything. Are we looking
We're going to
the whole thing?
Yeah, it's complete property, which is school. I mean, they run the show down there. It's all school property.
But the town, the town could continue to, but even if the school owned all the land, the town could organize, by agreement with the school, the town could organize recreational activities there.
Yeah, and Abby Miller, she's pretty knowledgeable about some of the stuff. She said that even if we don't end up with, a technical committee or Parks and Rec department, any of that, there are grants available to be able to match us, whatever we, collectively as a PTO, select board, whoever it is that's putting in money towards those things, there's grants to be able to match it. So if it's something that's like a really large, I don't know what it costs for dugouts.
So maybe the best game plan would be to these fall sports that are pressing, which is soccer. Get yourself settled in so they're comfortable playing. They've got nets or they've got benches or whatever they need to do that. And then over the winter, there's no winter sports out there. Over the winter, get that figured out, like a wish list. This is what, we'd like to have a committee form. We need to improve dugouts and ball fields and this and that and the other thing. And then that way, if you've got a wish list and you've got a basic cost, it's going to cost, $5,000 to tear those dugouts out number out there, but then you can say, okay, let's go find a grant for that. And, or get a committee together to do that. And then, there's grants out there for all kinds of crazy things, but you just gotta know where to find them and get them.
They're all slabs on that one. You do? Those buckets have slabs.
But there is money in the rec budget that if we agree on it, that, could be put toward soccer nets or whatever. So those kids,
Yeah, I'll have
you gotta
Robbie
get them
get a list
interested at a
together.
young age, or they're gonna play when they get in school, with school grades, so.
Okay.
Well, I'll work with them to see what we can get for the soccer equipment immediately.
So you'll be in contact with what you think you're gonna need for this fall.
Yeah, I'll have a list, I can send it through to Matt and make sure that we've got, I'm sure there's a lot of grants available for that type of thing. Considering our growth as a
But
town.
like I said, for this fall, we're gonna have time to do a lot of grant writing and stuff, but if we can get them so they can get through the soccer season here, and keep everybody happy with that, and then after that, do some more planning and stuff. Alright. Let's, started looking at the paperwork. This one hasn't been out yet. I'll read the minutes from the previous meeting. Get those approved. Town of Sheldon Selectboard Water Commissioner regular meeting, August 25th of 2025, held here at the town office. In attendance from the select board is Maria Davison, Nick Norris, Richard Piazzi, and Greg Stebbins. Others here was Seth Cattell, the highway foreman, Norman Snyder, Matthew Stebbins, town administrator, Jerry Vasey with Northwest Access TV, and Nancy West from the Planning Commission. At 7:40, Rick called the meeting to order and read the agenda. Nick Norris asked to add to the agenda an executive session to discuss personnel. Maria Davison reported that the Sheldon PTO would like to discuss maintenance of the dugouts and fields at the school. 7:41, Nancy West and Norman Snyder addressed the board regarding traffic safety on Pleasant Street. Nancy referred to a formal complaint that she had emailed to the board regarding the installation and removal of the speed bump. Nancy West proposed that Matthew McCrae be appointed to vacant seats on the Planning Commission and Development Review Board. Nick moved to appoint Matthew to a one-year term on both the Planning Commission and Development Review Board, seconded by Maria, and the motion carried. 8:18, discussion continued regarding traffic safety on Pleasant Street. The board instructed the highway foreman to install asphalt speed bumps as originally planned and asked the town administrator to post notices on the town website and social media. 8:25, Seth Patel delivered the highway report. State painted center lines on Class 2 roads. Brush cutter has been rented for September 22nd. 2018 truck was sent to the dealer for brake repairs. Mini excavator has been rented to complete the Hill Street water replacement this week, and the contractor will bore under Mill Street on Friday. Salt shed project was discussed. The board directed the foreman to order the roof trusses and other materials. Seth shared information regarding a wheel loader for sale, and the board will review the highway equipment funds available. 9 o'clock, board took up recent water shut-off notices that were mailed out and the grievances received regarding the shut-off action. Greg moved to a table discussion of the grievances to executive session. 9 o'clock, Matt Stebbins gave the town administrator's report, including updates on tax mapping contract and the Mill Street sewer project. 9:26, Rick read the minutes of the August 11th meeting. Board signed warrants 2517 and 31689. Nick moved to approve the minutes as read, seconded by Maria, and the motion carried. 9:30, the board took up final adoption of the local hazard mitigation plan. Matt reported the plan had been modified after review by the state and FEMA. It went over the sections which had been changed. Rick made a motion, seconded by Greg, to adopt the local hazard mitigation plan as amended, and the motion carried with 4 members in favor and none opposed. 9:37, the board took up a pest complaint on Pleasant Street, Laurel Drive. Rick reported his investigation of the complaint as town health officer. Matt reported his discussion with the landowner's attorney, and town attorney Jim Barlow. The board asked Matt to contact the landowner regarding cleanup before having the town directly involved. 9:57, Greg moved to enter executive session to discuss personnel and water shut-off grievances, seconded by Nick, and the motion carried. 10:58, Nick moved to exit executive session, seconded by Maria, and the motion carried. The board discussed water shut-off grievances and personnel matters. The board agreed to delay shut-off action against one repair. 10:59, Nick moved to adjourn the meeting, seconded by Maria, and the motion carried. Next meeting is Monday, August 25th at 7:30 at the town office. Do I have a motion to accept these minutes as read?
I have a question or a correction on the boring. The boring, I think it mentioned boring under Hill Street? Or Mill Street?
I should have said Bridge Street, that's my fault.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's all.
Yeah.
I saw that too.
I think it was around 8:30 or something.
Oh, that's, okay, that's 2 mistakes there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have said Bridge Street, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Then that date on the next meeting should have been tonight.
Next meeting is Monday.
September 8th.
Alright. Now we'll have a motion to accept these minutes with 2 things corrected.
Make a motion.
Alright, second on that.
Yep.
All in favor? What you got for us tonight?
Alright, so, I've not received it here at the town office, but I got one at home that the Consolidated has been sending out notices that they're gonna be discontinuing their copper telephone service in the Sheldon area, so that means we're gonna have to get a new provider for here at the town office. We're on Comcast for the internet, but we still have the telephone through Consolidated.
So I just want to interject for a second. Maybe you, long story short, I switched over to Comcast and they ported my copper line over to the existing phone number.
Right.
So Comcast can do that.
Right, but it's a VoIP service, right, I think, instead of a...
Okay, so you can do voice over IP.
Yeah, I think that's what we... So we have the option of continuing under Fidium, which is owned by Consolidated, or switching, at least here at the town office, we already have existing Comcast service, we'd just be adding that to the bundle. I will be getting prices on both of those for... I just want to discuss with you guys the service locations. Because currently we have a telephone at the town office here. We have a telephone at the town garage, and we have internet at the town garage, and we have a telephone at the sewer plant. I don't think we really use the telephones at the town garage or the sewer plant. However, it might be worthwhile. We do need internet at the garage, and with the change of personnel that I'm expecting we're going to have at the sewer plant, I think my discussions with Hunter, he thinks eventually he would like to have a computer down at the sewer plant to do the things that Cooper does here in the town office down there. And the other problem with the sewer plant right now is even if we don't there's a phone down there in part because there's very bad cell service down there. And then the other variable here is that security at these areas. If we did want to install cameras, it would be best to have them hooked to the internet at each of those locations. And we could get some, there is grant funding available from VLCT insurance for getting security cameras. However, it's required that they are connected to the internet. So I didn't know if, when I'm researching this, should I be, like if it was just a matter of the phone, I would say forget about doing the sewer plant and I would get internet at the town garage and not get a phone. But if we wanted to consider the other building we could consider is the Historical Society building, because we have our park out front and we have some material storage out back. So in a way, having a camera on that building is helpful to the town. Besides the fact that we own the building. So I didn't know, and having, it would be helpful to the Historical Society, obviously, to have internet there, but that's not necessarily the town's. So I didn't know if I might consider getting prices for that on all those locations, and then you can all decide what you'd like to do. The other thing is that we can always just get internet service, and then the actual VoIP telephone service can be through a lot of other providers. There are lots of companies that do that don't have to be local, they don't have to be bundled with the actual internet service provider. And I've talked to I've been cold called by various people, and I've talked to a couple of those VoIP providers just to find out what they offer, but I kind of said, I'm not going to talk to you until we upgrade all the internet. So anyway, so I'll probably get a proposal for each of those locations and let you guys decide what you'd like to do, but they'll probably be at your next meeting. We'll discuss that. Okay, so we're having a little bit of, not a whole lot of issue, but a few issues that I'm sure happen every year with some tax bills being returned because either the person's not at the right address, or there's some people who sold their property and should have made arrangements for how the bill was forwarded and seem to think that that's our problem. But anyway, I'm working with Justin to make sure that the bills are going out to the correct people in a couple of cases. Justin and I are going to be doing fall inspections beginning on Wednesday for any of the new builds in town, and there's a few that weren't finished last year that we'll be re-inspecting. In October, I'm waiting to schedule a staff meeting in October once the health plans are published by MVP and Blue Cross. I'd like to have, I've had various discussions with the employees over this year in terms of their general satisfaction or what they'd like to see in a health plan compared to what we have now. And I have discussed with them that I think the board would be amenable to shopping or looking at other plans besides the one that we have now, but it may be a thing where to have the benefits that they want, the town may be looking for employees to make some contribution on the premium side. And in general, everybody seems to be on board with that. Again, it'll depend on what the specific plans are that are offered. I know that the good news, I think, from our price, well, again, depending on what the plan is offered, but the good news is this year the MVP's premiums at least went up a lot less than they did. Last year they went up 10.5%. And this year it's more like 2.5%. So it's still going up, but not as much as it has the last 2 years. So, but that they may make adjustments to the plan, so we'll see what's actually delivered for the premium. But anyway, just letting you know that I'm hoping to have that conversation with the rest of the staff and probably do a survey of them, see what they're looking for in a health plan, and then when we get to the budget discussion beginning in November, you guys will have all that information and if necessary, we might have the employees come in to talk it over with you during a budget discussion. The other thing I'd like to discuss with them is whether they'd be amenable to having. We discussed when we were doing the policy, the personnel policy update last year. We discussed but did not implement having the leave all put together into a paid time, into a combined paid time off for sick and vacation instead of having it all subdivided into little categories. And I think in general, the employees seem positively inclined to that. So I figured I'd discuss all that. We will talk about all those things at the staff meeting and let you guys know as you're going through the budget.
And we talked about it in the library board as well, as far as our employees.
Right, okay, great. On another personnel matter, a couple of the highway crew members have asked, per our current policy, we had asked the highway crew to use up as much of their comp time as possible before Columbus Day, which is when they switch back to doing 4 5-day weeks. And a couple of them have asked that under our policy we've adopted, they're supposed to get paid out for whatever comp time they have remaining over 40 hours. But a couple of them asked me if they could just get paid out for all of their comp time when we do that in October. If they could get, so start to go back to zero, basically again. So you don't have to make that decision right now because that's not going to happen until the first pay period or second pay period in October. But just something for you guys to think about. Okay, as we discussed with Nancy, the speed bumps were installed. As I mentioned, I have not done any specific phone calls about that, and I don't think Seth said he hadn't heard this. It was a very different reaction from the first time we did it. The Hill Street water was connected, and as far as I know, the pressure down there is very satisfactory compared to what was there before. There is some work still to be done in terms of the landscaping down there. They were planning to do it last Thursday, but I think Tom asked them to wait because he wanted to do more. He wanted to do more with his yard, so I think they're going to get to it this week. But they have got the mulcher fixed, so it will work better this time. So we did proceed with the water shutoffs that we discussed at last meeting. I think we had at least 2 people who did come in and pay their bill. And I had one person reach out to me wanting to grieve after the fact, but then I asked them to make their request in writing, but I haven't heard back on that. So I did just on that particular account has been delinquent for about 2 years, and they've paid not very much money on it. So I don't know exactly what their excuse was going to be, but anyway, if I receive that in writing, I will let you know, because the way that the water ordinance is written right now, it anticipates that you send them a shut-off notice and then they write a file of grievance, having gotten the notice, and then you're supposed to schedule a hearing, to discuss it before you shut off the water. We're already done. So I assume the same applies even after you shut off the water. So if I do receive that, I will let you know, because per the policy, I think you have a certain amount of time to decide on when you're going to have a hearing on that, and they have to be notified when that hearing is. So, but I will see if I receive that notice. I did include a budget status report. It's a week old, I think, and I had just highlighted any of the categories that I saw that I had questions about. I had Jane print out reports on each of those. A couple of the ones, there were a couple of categories in the fire department budget that I highlighted, and I talked to Raymond about that today. I guess the radio equipment, some of it was supposed to be included with the truck, but the bill came to the town instead of to DeSorces. So the just came to the fire department instead of the source season, so, well, the way it's worked out is that the fire department paid the bill, and now we have a $5,000 credit with the source season, I believe, so, which we will use on another part of the budget, so we'll have to put an explanation in the report about that, but, and then,
With the sources?
correct.
Why didn't they just give us a $5,000 check?
I think that's what, I believe Garth asked, that's what Garth said to, per my discussion with Raymond, that's what he and Garth kind of talked about, and Raymond thought it would be a bit easier if they just had a credit out there, because they will use that money eventually, so, I don't know, if that's what they should have done.
No.
Should have been a check.
They should have been, or they should be refunded. Right?
Yeah, make more sense.
Okay, well, I don't know if that credit has been used yet, it could be.
I don't know, what is there a monthly, are we buying things out there monthly?
We still supplying the new truck with different things and services.
Yeah.
So like, you know, like for one of the things is a rack for the heavy rescue tools. It's like long story short, there's always things that are happening that are being improved upon.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's still possible to get a check from them.
Yeah, I'm not,
we can do that, if that's
So-
preferable to this.
if that's what the board wants.
So, I mean, so in other words, the radio was supposed to be, you're saying the radio was supposed to be included in the price of the truck?
Right, and the bill got paid through the town, bill came here through the town for the radio, from the radio company.
So it should have been sent to them.
Right.
So,
So it came out of our budget, and now we have a credit on the other end.
you're right, so, okay, so you plan on, well, I don't know, I'm just saying there that if they paid it, you wouldn't have a credit there, because you're already paid for it. It was supposed to be paid for in the total cost of the truck.
Correct.
Right. So you would think, oh, they would understand that, and they would immediately send the town a check for $5,000. I would think.
Yep.
It sounded to me like they had that conversation.
I mean, but that's what business, I mean, that's the right, that's
They should make
right.
right on it. And I think just for our own, I don't know how quickly we would use $5,000. I don't really know costs
No,
of things, but
Well, it will save me having to write.
If you
write something in this town report.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is what.
Okay. I will contact Raymond and Garth about that. Yeah.
That should be done.
There was a small discrepancy with the library budget, and that is because they received a grant. So that explains the. Sally has that all well accounted for. So the highway budget, there is. So I think Demetrius is on taking some time off last week and this week, and so I have made arrangements for him and Seth to get together to go over where things have been coded for the highway, because I think there may have been because the bills basically, Seth usually when he buys something, he will write on the receipt what it's for, but the bills get emailed to the town, so Demetrius doesn't get the information that Seth wrote on it until sometimes after the bill has been paid, and so he will sometimes just make an assumption about where he has to code it when he's doing the AP warrants, and so sometimes things may have been miscoded. So I've asked that when Demetrius comes back for Seth to sit down and go through these accounts with Demetrius to figure out where the money should have been,
Double check where,
double check where it is, and Jane,
make sure it's
unfortunately,
proper.
Jane will have to do a journal entry to
Yeah,
fix
move
that,
things around.
but I've also asked them to meet regularly on when Demetrius is getting ready to do the AP warrant. I think, you know, a 10, 20-minute meeting, going over all the bills will save a lot of hassle if Seth would just come over and do that. And I think Seth's totally fine with doing that. They just needed to have the specific time set aside to do it, so. Beginning next week, I think that'll be happening. As Jane mentioned, we're still working on getting it so that I can access Nemrick just to get information, because it's kind of a pain in the neck to bother her to print something off so I can check information. If I could just read the program, I could get that information. So, tomorrow we're going to have the first meeting on the sidewalk study grant in Sheldon Springs. The consultant, VHB, is going to be there, as well as someone from V-Trans to discuss, because that's going to obviously involve live. So we'll see how that goes. And I started talking with NRPC about municipal planning grant, which is open for, it's going to be accepted through the 1st of November. So we discussed doing that for village planning as well.
They're going to be here next meeting for that? Or, I mean,
sorry.
they're going to be here.
NRPC is coming next month, at your next meeting, because of this Act 250 designation program, which is separate from the grant I was speaking about, but I won't talk about it. So I've printed a large map here that kind of shows what NRPC has worked out for the regional plan update. The way, when the state reformed Act 250 last year, they created these areas around villages where Act 250 is supposed to be exempt. And currently that exemption would apply to any development of 10 or fewer housing units. There is an option under the law for towns to opt into changing that exemption to 50 housing units instead of 10. So, which would more or less put it would put residential development on par with commercial development in terms of the way that Act 250 is applied.
Do we have any places where we're putting in 50 houses?
Right.
Well, yeah, you never know.
Right, exactly. So, the way that RAW was written, initially there was sort of an arbitrary line drawn around where the village districts were. And what the NRPC has been doing with their regional plan update is giving shape to those areas by including, river corridors, various places that you want to protect where agricultural development and things where inside that line having Act 250 be exempt didn't make as much sense. So what they've come up with is, instead of the red line that you see around villages, Act 250 would be exempt in the areas where there's the maroon colored area, which is our current village designated centers. And then there's a pink area that they consider to be village kind of expansion areas of those village designation areas. And so the Act 250 exemptions would apply in only those areas. And then, as I said, the select board could choose to keep the current exemption of 10 housing units, or you can opt into having a more expansive approach with up to 50 housing units being exempted from Act 250. As you make a good point, Maria, is that, does that seem likely to happen
Didn't seem like we
anytime
have
soon?
space.
But there are some areas, particularly in Sheldon Springs, where I think if somebody wanted to, they could consider a larger project like that. But that would be contingent on some other things happening, namely the sewer being expanded, so.
Sounds like a big beehive to me.
So anyway, that, the NRPC has asked you to make that decision on opting in by September 30th, so I have put that on your agenda for next meeting, and Catherine Dimitrick, the NRPC director, will be here for your next meeting to go over that with you. I also asked them a couple of questions about where they have drawn these, areas, because in Sheldon Creek specifically, their areas are slightly out of variance with where our village zoning is. I didn't know if there's a reason why they excluded some areas and included others. So I'm hoping to get some answers on that, and I will let you know what they've said about that. But
This is, for the next meeting, we should have this map and the current.
yes, I can give you, yes.
Because we're looking at what, this is a proposal, this is a draft for
Right.
future land use.
Right.
And for the next meeting, then we should have the,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
so we can,
Yeah. Okay.
and we'll have that discussion then.
Okay. All right, that is all I have. Any questions?
Middle Street?
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, yes. So, I reached out to, I let Robert know the day after our last meeting that you had decided to approve that, and I didn't get any email back on that. He's very hard to get a hold of sometimes, so, and I've since emailed him. I tried to call him, his mailbox is full, so I do not see that the bid has gone out. I've checked the bid registry, I don't see that that's gone out, so, and I asked him if there's something, we need to do something on that, or if he's gonna publish it, or, and I just haven't heard back from him, so I guess I just need to call him more, to find that out, but I'm assuming he's quite busy with other projects, so it's gonna be frustrating to get a hold of him sometimes. Sorry, on the salt shed, I'm sorry, and it's separate, so I talked to Seth about that. I believe, as we had discussed, the plan was to have the crew do the base on the floor for the salt shed, and then they were going to rent a compactor and do the asphalt for that, and on Shawville Road as well. I believe Robert Spalding got in touch with Seth and some of the selectmen about using his paver and his clay compactor to do that. So today the crew worked on preparing the base over there, and paver's on site. I think the plan is for that work to be done this week.
Yeah.
And they have, I think they're finished grinding off all the wire ties and black coating on the holes in the foundation on the inside. So that's moving forward, and they'll be digging the perimeter drain as well. Seth and Mike Randall have ordered the trusses for the rafter system. So those I assume will be available sometime beginning of October.
I think did we choose the finance on that yet? Or no?
No, we did not. So that's the thing to discuss about that. So I was trying to find out what the total cost of this is going to be.
Correct.
It's kind of a ball of gel up here in terms of that. So,
right.
So I got rates from the bank.
Yeah.
On the full amount that we are approved to borrow, and I got different quotes for 3 and 5 years, and whether we wanted to pay it annually or quarterly, or your for the full $100,000 on an annual payment for 3 years, the amount was, the interest rate was 3.04%. And that would be amount to about a little bit over $35,000 per year on that. Now, that I don't anticipate it costing the full amount of $100,000, and also, if we made that agreement, then you wouldn't have to make your first payment until this time next year.
The town has a line of credit with the bank.
We do, yes.
Okay, so I suggest we use the line of credit to pay for the construction, and then at the end of the construction, we'll know the full amount, and then we'll get the loan for that amount, rather than guess it,
Now, if we were only approved for a certain amount, don't you make sure that the interest on the loan that we get doesn't exceed that amount we're approved for?
Yeah.
No, we're approved to build this house for another 100,000. That didn't say anything about what you have to pay for financing.
But if we use our line of credit if the line of credit is sufficient there, and I believe it is, we'll do that, and we'll know the total cost at the end of it, and then we'll get the note. And when we know the total cost, then we'll decide whether it's a 3-year note or a 5-year note.
Okay.
Agree?
That sounds far less complicated to me, so that's good. I like that.
Because we set a tax rate on basically a 3-year note.
Correct, yeah.
Figured out.
Right, but we didn't,
Roughly.
yeah, that's right.
That's all rough figure.
Right. Well, I
It's
suppose.
the final numbers.
Right, but
Yeah, okay.
you don't know what to do, you don't know what to you don't know the cost of the shed yet, except, because we're kind of doing it piecemeal or whatever.
Yeah. So a couple of things I forgot here that I had written down that I talked to Seth about. Last week, Greg and Steve went with Seth to go look at a couple of loaders. And one of them you looked at at United was a John Deere loader that they thought they had sold, but apparently that is so apparently that's still available. I believe I think that used to belong to the town of Middlebury. Yeah, or I think that's what Seth said in there. They were asking for $90,000 for that machine.
What's the quote? He was asking for the oil lines, but anyway.
Who?
For the lower rusted lines.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll send that to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So anyway, Seth just wanted to let you know that loader is available if you wanted to discuss that.
What do you want to do?
What do we have
Oh, yeah.
available funds?
I think I have $200,000. I think it's about 200,000.
I thought two of the lines are kind of essential, because they actually run the bucket.
Yeah.
The other ones, I don't know which ones are, I don't know which ones are what, but,
So we can prioritize certain ones. And
right, yeah, that's my thought. Just because, the one that runs the bucket, we were over there looking at that. I wouldn't, I don't know if you saw the lines, but they're kind of, they were working on it, somebody came up to get
this report, Steve, but I don't. I think
hose on it.
there's $210,000 or so.
We were just gonna look at ours like this. Lines are in a place where it's gotten salty and whatnot, they look kind of, not so bad.
let's replace them. So the loader was a no-go?
Well, I didn't feel comfortable.
Mechanically, it was the
I
same.
think it was mechanically sound, but I don't know that, I mean, I might have bought it for myself, but for the town, no, because, you know, there were some rust issues with that. And, you know, and that was the rust we could see, not counting the rust that we couldn't see. Okay? I think the machine had been driven up and down the street a lot.
Yeah, it came from Montreal.
Right, so it was driven up and down the street a lot, so it, you know, it was like, it's in a cloud of salt. As opposed to there, a loader there, like the front of the machine was in perfect order. It was like the bucket had never been installed or anything, any kind of corrosion. But it was all around the base of the cab, and the fender. And the doors on the back of the engine compartment. So we were kind of like, you know, but I think it was a sound machine, but like I said, there was enough rust on it that, well.
My thought is we find something with at least a 15-year useful life on it there for the 9 hours.
Right.
So, you know, if we could buy
Something that hasn't
because you
been.
can find some of those older machines that they're still asking big money for. I looked at a couple over in New York here online, and but I mean, one of them had 14,000 hours on it. The other had over 10,000 hours. Like find something fewer hours.
Hasn't been in a corrosive environment.
Yeah.
Right.
Something maybe has been hemmed in wood or just stone in a pit or something, not in a municipal. Yeah. And I think we got time to do that. As opposed to, you know. So. But we met a nice feller down in Royalton, and he was nice to talk to, and he was pretty upfront about the whole thing. He understood. And that was that.
I'm sorry I didn't have this ready. I thought this was printed in the ledger report here, but at the beginning of this year you had $215,000 in your highway equipment fund. We have spent year to date, 69,512 out of that, but you have budgeted for $100,000 to go into that fund at the end of this year. So you should have, by my quick math, somewhere on the order of $250,000 in that fund. I don't know if we have any other expenses. We made the payment on the truck and on the utility truck and the 2021 truck.
We still haven't fixed the steering column.
Right, we have
On the grader.
Right, but we did budget. That's in the budget.
They looked at that too.
Yeah.
That's a repair budget.
Yeah, these are just for making truck payments and things like that. Yeah, that's what that budget is for. So,
So Hubert's vehicle, we pay him, we reimburse him for mileage and everything else and usage. Because once he steps back,
we have had that discussion before where I think Hunter would, well, I think in general it might be good to have another, two-wheel drive truck or something,
it's a town vehicle that they get around and back and forth.
that part, kind of sending that, the Ford truck out to get parts and things like that, or drive to the super class or whatever. It's not, you're not going to get a huge improvement in fuel economy, but it, having
Just wear it there.
Yeah, right, yeah. But having another truck
More
that you can,
expensive on that, air, tires and everything else.
drive his own truck, but not everybody agrees with that, so feels as comfortable with that.
I guess that would be a discussion for the next year.
One more question. Things like transition, Hubert's gonna be around last summer, right? That's work for Hubert, does it work for the company in that same road, would you consider something?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, one final note that I did talk to Seth about, we do have the contract, we do have the brush cutter rented for later this month, but there are a few trees around town, larger trees that we might want to consider taking down, and I think...
Well, you talked about across the road here.
Right, that's an example of one. There's another one on the Nisha Road that I've gotten a call about that I think is in the town right away, and there's some other ones that I'm not as sure are in the town right away, so, but...
Where's that one, make sure?
In front of Doreen Lucia's house.
The sharp corner?
Before that, no, not on the corner, but kind of past down a drive.
Where they sell the corn?
What's the issue with the tree?
It's dead.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a dead elm tree there.
Dead elm tree.
I think, yeah. But I think it is in the right of way there. It's not a huge tree, but it's good size.
Is there wires in there?
I don't remember if that one has wires about it, but anyway, that's why Seth's concerned. If it's a tree standing out in the middle of the road, it's one thing, but if it's, with nothing around it, that's one thing, but when you've got utility work to do around it, he's less comfortable with doing that, so. I figured we'd take a quick survey of if we can get 4 or 5 trees that we think could be cut down, we might see if we can get a contractor to do that, or I can at least get a proposal to do that.
Nick's all about that.
Oh, we can cut some trees down.
Right, yeah, right.
We done that, huh?
Yeah.
Right. So, anyway, there.
Okay. All right, anything else?
We got an executive session on there.
Yep. Anything else we need to discuss before we go into executive?
Nope.
Okay, I'll take a motion then.
I'll make a motion to enter executive session and then adjourn our regular meeting on exiting executive.
All right, second on that?
Yep.
Any discussion? No? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?